Are you familiar with the term Onmyoji? In fantasy works, they are often portrayed as charismatic figures who use mysterious spells and magic to solve problems. Believe it or not, these magical Onmyoji were a real official position in ancient Japan, and perhaps the most legendary of them all is Seimei. He is regarded as the most powerful spellcaster. His superhuman abilities and legendary talent were unparalleled. Legends even suggest his parents were supernatural beings, and he inherited their extraordinary blood. This lineage allowed him to perform many incredible feats and cement his reputation as a genius sorcerer. Join us in this video as we dive deep into the life, achievements, and enduring legacy of Seimei, Japan's strongest Onmyoji. You won't want to miss it. To begin, let's establish what an Onmyoji actually was. When you hear the word, you might imagine a powerful sorcerer wielding various magical arts to combat supernatural threats to the imperial court, a figure much like a superhero. They're often depicted as attractive young men, and many legends passed down from the medieval era are filled with such thrilling, dramatic scenes. However, the truth is that Onmyoji were government officials employed by the Onmyo, a state-run bureau. This bureau was staffed by a group of experts, including astronomers and scholars who compiled calendars. Their work involved using calendars, astrology, and secret rituals derived from Taoism and esoteric Buddhism to predict the future of the nation. Essentially, they were the nation's official forecasters. The Onmyo was founded during the Nara period, with specialized roles such as Onmyo doctors to train Onmyoji, astronomical doctors for astrology, and calendar doctors for managing the calendar. Those in astronomy were bound by extremely strict regulations, forbidden from revealing their observations or reading certain books without approval. Onmyoji was a highly classified practice, state-controlled and top secret. In contrast to these official practitioners, there were also those who operated independently, known as wild Onmyoji or priest Onmyoji. Ashikaga Doman, a famous rival of Seimei, is the most prominent example. Kihogan, a Heian period priest famous for his mastery of both literature and martial arts, is another well-known figure who possessed the military strategy. Bukurakudo, later famously stolen by Minamoto no Yoshitsune. With this foundational understanding of the Onmyoji, we are ready to dive into the main subject of Seimei, Japan's strongest Onmyoji. We will explore his life, his achievements, and the legendary status he earned, uncovering the charm that has cemented his place in history. 2. Seimei, an elite with a divine bloodline. Now, let's talk about Seimei himself. He was a renowned Onmyoji of the Heian period, revered as a god of divination. He made huge contributions, like predicting natural disasters, and his exceptional talent is still remembered today. Seimei came from a distinguished family. His ancestor was Abe no Miyu, a minister of the right in the 8th century. His mentor was Kemono Tadayuki, one of Japan's most famous Onmyoji. Seimei's talent quickly became known, and he began serving the imperial court. His main duty was to predict auspicious signs from astronomical changes and report them to the emperor in what were called Tenmon Misso, astronomical secret reports. In 986, he solidified his reputation by predicting Emperor Kazan's abdication. Because he was in charge of rituals and divination for the nobility, Seimei's descendants became known as the Tsushimikado family, who controlled the Onmyoji throughout the country. They were truly an elite family. Seimei rose to prominence, eventually becoming the head of the Onmyoji school alongside his master's family, the Kemono family. There are countless stories about him. For example, it's said that while Emperor Kazan was still crown prince, Seimei sealed a tengu on Mount Nachi. After the emperor abdicated, Seimei earned the trust of powerful figures like Emperor Ichijo and Fujiwara no Michinaga. He was even entrusted with rain-making rituals that could influence the nation's fate, reaching the pinnacle of power for an Onmyoji. Seimei is believed to have died in the 11th century. His deeds are featured in historical narratives like the Great Mirror and 10 Lessons, as well as tale collections like the Tales of Times Past and the Uji Shui Monogatari. He also left behind a major written work. The main text of Onmyoji, Hoki Naiden, is a famous masterpiece that is still fully translated and published today. We've covered Seimei from a historical perspective. Now, let's explore his charm through stories and legends, and see why he has captivated people for centuries. The legendary power of Seimei. In stories, Seimei is an incredibly cool hero who uses Shikigami, spirit servants, and various spells to subdue evil spirits. He was also a master of curse reversal, which involved countering an opponent's curse with a more powerful one. It's said he used this skill to help the powerful regent, Fujiwara no Michinaga. At the time, the curse on Michinaga was cast by Seimei's rival, the Onmyoji Ashiya Doman was allegedly commissioned by Left Minister Fujiwara no Akira to use sorcery to curse Michinaga to death, a classic example of the bloody power struggles of the Heian period. There's also a fascinating legend about Seimei's origins. One theory claims his mother was a fox named Kuzunoha, but this was no ordinary fox. Kuzunoha was a messenger for Uka no Mitama, the goddess of grain, also known as Inari. It's believed that those with divine bloodlines gain extraordinary powers, a theme seen in many cultures. Like Emperor Jimmu, the first emperor of Japan, Seimei may have gained his magical abilities from this divine lineage. As evidence of his deification, Abeno Seimei was enshrined as a god after his death. The most famous shrines are the Seimei Shrine in Kyoto and the Abeno Seimei Shrine in Osaka. These shrines are said to have the power to ward off evil spirits and misfortune. We've only scratched the surface of his charm. His diverse episodes reveal his power, wisdom, and the trust he earned from people. Let's continue to explore his charm through more stories. The Taizan Fukun Festival. Of course, Seimei's main legacy is his magnificent sorcery. Next, let's introduce one of his greatest magical achievements, the Taizan Fukun Festival. The Taizan Fukun Festival is one of the most important rituals in Onmyoji, dedicated to Taizan Fukun, the god who presides over the souls of the dead. This highly advanced ritual was performed to comfort the dead and ward off disasters. It's said that Seimei performed this festival to pray for the peace of the emperor and nobles, and for the stability of the nation. Through this ritual, Seimei established a deep connection with the gods and used their power to overcome many challenges. His sorcery was not just a technical skill, it was a practice that valued harmony with nature and the divine. The Taizan Fukun Festival is a perfect example of this. Through this ritual, he earned the people's trust, and his reputation became unshakable. Now, we'll dive deeper into the details of the Taizan Fukun Festival, exploring the philosophy and beliefs behind his sorcery, and how they continue to influence us today. 3. The climax of Seimei's sorcery. The ritual to revive the dead, the Taizan Fukun Festival. In the 2001 movie Onmyoji, Matsui Nomura plays Abeno Seimei, a character who uses sorcery to save his friend. It's a moving epic that's definitely worth watching. One of the key sorceries in the film is the Taizan Fukun Festival, a ritual that is especially famous in Seimei's legends. Of course, the movie version is different from the real thing. The actual ritual doesn't involve acrobatic jumps or flashy moves. However, the Taizan Fukun Festival is said to be a powerful form of sorcery, capable of saving even those on the brink of death. According to one legend, a monk was suffering from a serious illness. His disciples desperately performed prayers and rituals, but nothing worked. To save him, they summon Abeno Seimei, the most renowned Onmyoji of his time, to perform the Taizan Fukun Festival. However, the illness was so severe that Seimei quietly stated, to cure the monk's illness, someone else must take his place. But no one volunteered. Then, a young monk who had only recently begun his training stepped forward. While the senior monks hesitated, this young monk declared he would take his master's place. Seimei wrote the young monk's name in a ritual text called Tosho and performed the festival. Soon, the master's condition improved. The disciples expected the young monk to die soon, but strangely, there were no signs of death. Seimei said, "This is also the mercy of Taizan Fukun." Thanks to the disciples' devotion, both were saved. And so, the master and disciple were able to live out their natural lives together. Taizan Fukun is the main deity of Onmyoji. Originally, he was the god of the underworld in Chinese mythology and Taoism. He isn't mentioned in ancient Japanese texts like the Kojiki or Nihon Shoki, which introduced Japan's ancient gods. However, during the Heian period, Taizan Fukun became worshipped as a god who could extend one's lifespan. This gets a bit complicated, but in China, the Buddhist concept of hell merged with the indigenous Chinese concept. As a result, Yama, the Buddhist king of hell, and the native deity Taizan Fukun came to be seen as the same. In some tales, Yama's attendants are even depicted as Taizan Fukun. Now, if we look again at that story about the sick monk, it actually says, the rituals of esoteric Buddhism could not cure the sick, but the rituals of Onmyoji could. This reveals the political intentions of Onmyoji. The story itself can be seen as propaganda, promoting Onmyoji's superiority over esoteric Buddhism. In medieval Japan, many people sought to gain public reverence through superhuman sorcery, with esoteric Buddhist monks at the forefront. And Ozanu, the founder of Shugendo, is also said to have freely manipulated Shikigami and demons. Onmyoji had to win this magical battle to survive and gain popularity among the people. Let me introduce another key characteristic of Onmyoji. While Shinto, Japan's indigenous religion, involves worshipping gods and receiving blessings, Onmyoji and esoteric Buddhism take a more active approach to appealing to gods and Buddhas. Simply put, they are based on the strong belief I will do my best, so please work for me, too. This is what makes powerful magical rituals like the Taizan Fukun festival possible. For example, in Tibetan esoteric Buddhism, rituals of the Great Wisdom King are associated with curses, while those of the Peacock King are linked to protecting the nation. Similarly, the 10 treasures described in the Sendaiku Jihanki and the incantation, Fukuno Kotoba are also said to be powerful sorceries that can even resurrect the dead. These intense human desires such as I want this or I wish for that can be seen as crystallizing into the unique, inherent power of sorcery. Finally, I'd like to share another story where the Taizan Fukun festival appears. It's the tale of Gozu Tenno, the bull-headed king, recorded in Abeno Seimei's Hoki Naiden. A man named Kotandio found himself in a desperate situation. He had refused to lend lodging to Gozu Tenno, the god of plague, and now had to confront him. He resorted to a ritual called the Taizan Fukun no Ho, but because one of the monks fell asleep, he failed to repel Gozu Tenno's army. Tragically, Kotandio was defeated, and his entire clan was wiped out. This tale, the exact opposite of the one about Abeno Seimei, clearly shows that even powerful sorcery depends on the qualities of the person who uses it. So far, we've taken a detailed look at Abeno Seimei's sorcery and its background. I hope that through his anecdotes and legends, you've gained some insight into the charm and depth of Onmyoji. 4. 3 legendary tales of Seimei beyond the historical record. Now that we've covered Seimei's main achievements, let's look at the broader legends surrounding him. The following stories are from the Kana Shouzo collection of tales, the Tales of Abeno Seimei, published in 1662. 1. Seimei goes to Ryugu Palace. The first story is an anecdote from Seimei's childhood. As a child, he wasn't called Abeno Seimei, but Abe no Duji. One day, while visiting Sumiyoshi Taisha Shrine, young Abe saw a snake being bullied by some children. He bought the snake and released it, telling it, "Don't come back to this crowded place." This simple act of kindness would later change his destiny. Just as the boy was about to leave, a beautiful woman appeared before him, introducing herself as the princess of Ryugu Palace. She invited him to her home as a thank you for saving her. This legend is essentially the Abeno Seimei version of the Urashima Taro story. The boy was led by the princess into a dreamlike world. There, the Dragon King, the princess's father, appeared and held a lavish banquet in gratitude. Afterwards, he commanded, "This is the Dragon King's secret symbol. By mastering it, you will understand everything in heaven and on earth, and even humanity. Use it to gain fame and help people." While Urashima Taro received a treasure box, Abeno Seimei was granted the Dragon King's secret art. When the boy returned to the human world, he could understand people's pasts and futures, and even the voices of animals. This tale foreshadows Abeno Seimei's future as a legendary sorcerer. 2. The origin of the name Seimei Mandarin oranges versus eggs. Next, we'll hear the story of how Abe no Duji got the name Seimei. One day, the boy was resting under the eaves of Shitanoji Temple. 2 crows landed nearby and started chatting. One was from the capital, and the other was a messenger of Fujiasama Daibosatsu, on its way to Kumano. Since the boy could understand the voices of animals, he listened to their conversation. The crow said the emperor's illness was caused by a curse from a snake and a frog that had been sacrificed during the construction of the imperial palace. When the boy returned home and performed a divination, the results matched exactly what the crows had said. He went to the capital and declared, "I am Abenodoji Haruachira from Izumi province. I have studied astronomy and the calendar on my own, and I have come to divine the cause of the emperor's illness." The court nobles, however, were skeptical. They decided to test him by asking him to guess what was inside a box without looking. The box originally contained 48 oranges, but based on his divination, the boy answered, "There are 48 eggs inside." The nobles smiled smugly, but when they opened the box, It did indeed contain eggs. An attendant explained there had been a sudden change in orders, and the contents had been switched. The boy's abilities were recognized, and he was finally allowed to divine the cause of the emperor's illness. The boy said, "If you dig up the snake and frog from under the pillar and remove them, the illness will be cured." The emperor's illness was cured, and as a reward, the boy was appointed as the head of the Onmyoji, the Onmyo no Kemi. The day this happened was the solar term Seimei Setsu, so he was given the name Seimei. 3. Exorcising a demon woman. Abeno Seimei, who was fearless in the face of evil spirits, also has an unusual anecdote about solving a problem of the heart. One day, a man abandoned his wife for a younger woman. The wife, enraged, turned into a demon and plotted to kill the man's new lover. Night after night, she performed the Ushi no Kokumari ritual, and on the 21st night, she became a living demon. The man began having nightmares about his wife and, at his wit's end, sought Seimei's help. Seimei saw right through everything. "There's no need for divination," he said. "It's your wife's hatred, and you will lose your life tonight." The man, desperate, told Seimei the whole story. But Seimei seemed unenthusiastic, saying, "Praying to the gods and Buddhas now is useless." When the man clung to him in fear, Seimei reluctantly agreed. "Fine, I will prepare a substitute for your life," he said, and set up an altar. On the altar, he placed deities, spirits of the underworld, the 5 great Myo, and a life-size doll Hitogata, inscribing the couple's names on it. As Seimei prayed, it suddenly began to rain, and amid the thunder, the wife, who had become a demon, finally appeared. She stood at the doll's pillow and uttered a curse with all her might. However, she felt pain from the curse of Fudo Myo, one of the 5 great Myo, and said, "I will never come back," before leaving. For Seimei, perhaps the demon woman was easy to repel, but given his lack of enthusiasm, he may have believed that a man who cheats deserves to suffer. These anecdotes convey the diverse exploits of Abeno Seimei and fully capture his charm. Seimei's story continues. 5. The eternal rival. The tragedy of Ashiya Doman, the evil Onmyoji. Our final entry is a figure inseparable from Abeno Seimei, his eternal rival, Ashiya Doman. Doman is also known as Domahoshi. According to records from the Edo period, he was said to have been born in Kishimura, Harima Province, now Kishi, Koka City in Hyogo Prefecture. Doman is often portrayed as the personification of evil, a dark contrast to the righteous Abeno Seimei. However, the previously mentioned Hoki Nidan tells a different story. One day, Seimei and Ashiya Doman were asked to show their magical powers before the emperor. The emperor placed a box containing 15 mandarin oranges and asked them to guess its contents. Doman immediately answered, "There are 15 mandarin oranges inside." Then Seimei replied, "There are about 15 mice inside." The nobles and ministers were disappointed, thinking Seimei was wrong. But when the box was opened, 15 mice ran out. For some reason, the contest ended in Seimei's victory, and from then on, Doman became Seimei's disciple. This is one example of Seimei's mysterious powers. The story continues. Later, Seimei went to Tang China to train under a powerful sorcerer named Takudo Jonin. While Seimei was away, Doman, who was plotting to overthrow him, tried to steal the Hoki Nidan, the source of Seimei's power, by having an affair with Seimei's wife. After mastering the secret techniques of the Hoki Nidan, Doman challenged Seimei to another duel, and this time, he won and killed him. However, the monk Takudo sensed Seimei's death, rushed to Japan, and revived him. He then tricked Doman into a trap and beheaded him. So, Doman's reign didn't last long. Another episode involving Seimei and Doman appears in the Uji Shui Monogatari. One day, a dog beloved by Fujiwara no Michinaga tried to stop its master from going out. Surprised, Michinaga had Seimei perform a divination. Seimei revealed that the dog had sensed it was about to be cursed by a Shichigami. Seimei said, "The only other person who knows such a curse is Ashiya Doman." This led to Doman's unfortunate imprisonment. Regardless of the truth, Mishimasa was exiled to Harima Province. In Sayo Town, Hyogo Prefecture, there are 2 stone monuments commemorating the fierce battle between Seimei and Mishimasa, called Seimei's tomb and Mishimasa's tomb, respectively. At Shogunji Temple in the same prefecture, there is a statue of Domahoshi quietly enshrined. According to the temple's tradition, Doman had trained in this area before going to Kyoto. However, his Shichigami, which were left behind, would fly through the night sky, reminiscing about their training days and searching for their master. This episode offers a heartwarming glimpse into Domon's unexpected personality. The temple's stone monument also describes Domon not as an evil Onmyoji, but as a person who cultivated various skills and dedicated himself to the common people. This image of Domon is far removed from his general perception. Originally a benevolent Onmyoji, Domon went to the capital and met Seimei. It was due to the historical context that he was labeled the evil Onmyoji. When you consider this, you might even feel a bit of sympathy for Domon. Thus, the tale of the confrontation between Seimei and Domon has been passed down through the ages, blending history and legend. The human-centered episodes associated with both figures continue to captivate many people to this day. 6. The hero we seek, Seimei in modern times. In this video, we've taken a close look at the exploits of Seimei and the world of sorcery surrounding him, focusing on the traditional Japanese Onmyoji. Just imagine the Heian period in Japan, a time of magical battles that could rival any modern fantasy novel. While those flashy battles may not have happened exactly as they're told, the stories passed down through the ages have certainly shaped the Onmyoji into a heroic figure. The image of Seimei, who commands Shichigami and wields powerful sorcery, has been carried forward into modern works, allowing us to see the desires of people that have remained unchanged for centuries. The figure of the Onmyoji continues to captivate hearts across the ages. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel, and let us know what you think in the comments below. Don't forget to turn on notifications so you won't miss our next video. Until next time, farewell.